Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UTA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Monday, February 10th, 2025. That is just about 5 years of Torah every single day, of finding each other from all around the world to learn some Torah, to find meaning in the world, to lift each other up, to respond to things, and to ground ourselves in a living, breathing community of people who support each other. Penny, thank you. It's broadcast 1237. Anava, it's good to see you. Hi, Susie. I hope that you, Shari, are well. Carl, Cecile, Debbie, Jonathan, and Linda. Boker Tov. Hi, Adele. Hi, Rebecca. It's good to see you. Deborah and Haley, Arlene, good to see all of you friends. I hope that you and yours are safe and well. Let's take a second, say good morning to each other, and get to our learning for the day. Judy and Valerie, Lisa and Jerry, Robin, Anya and Helen, Boker Tov. Good to see all of you friends. All right. Start the day with a bracha, with a blessing. Friends, good morning. I hope that you and yours are safe and well. It's good to see you. It's a new parsha for us to be learning about. It is also day 493 since October 7th. It is a very difficult period of time, and there is uplift and inspiration in this week's parsha that we will not leave behind. But as Peter said, to see the conditions in which our three brothers, Or, Eli, and Ohad, when they were released by the terrorists last weekend. And since we have begun to learn what happened to them in captivity, that is where my eyes are. They are in my eyes. They are in our hearts. And so we are in a very, very intense period of time. And while I'll ground us and contextualize us in the Parsha, I really do hope that you are paying close attention and being loud and proud to be Jewish, demanding nothing less than dignity for our sisters and brothers. And by sisters and brothers, we must start, middle, and finish that sentence with the hostages, of which there are 76 left in captivity. It is an essential commitment that we make. And as we mark what Valerie is correct, are too many days, we also must do our utmost to keep heart and to keep loud. So let me first say happy birthday to Gail. We don't leave behind our joy. Let me also make sure to thank Valerie for her incredible work supporting the Jewish Student Alumni Association of Columbia University. I'm not quite sure if I got the exact title right, but with her leadership, there was a wonderful networking meeting with hundreds of alumni at UJA. Just this last week, she has been lifting us all, and she's part of our Torah learning community. So thank you, Valerie, for being such a source of light and life. I'm proud that UJA is supporting your work with the Alumni Association, bringing Jewish students and alum together to be strong and proud. Let me start with the Parsha, and then I'm going to come back to Or Eli and Ohad, because that's where we belong. That's where our hearts should be. Parshat Yitro includes the reunion between Yitro and his son-in-law Moses. If you remember Yitro, he is a priest of Midian. When Moses runs from Egypt after killing the Egyptian taskmaster, saving the life of an Israelite, Moses knows he has to run. He runs and he meets Yitro's daughter Tzipporah, falls in love, they get married. He learns, it seems, to be a shepherd and to be this new iteration of himself under the tutelage of Yitro. And after Moses and Tzipporah and their sons return to Egypt, and then it seems that his wife and sons return back to Yitro. It's complicated, that part of the story. After all the plagues and the splitting of the sea, Yitro meets up with Moses. And Moshe, this is chapter 18, verse 8. In Hebrew, Vaysaper Moshe lechotno et kol asher asa Adonai lefaro uleMitzrayim alodot Yisrael et kol hatla'a asher mitzatam baderech veyatzilem Adonai. The English that I have here, translation by Everett Fox, is, and Moses related to his father-in-law all that God had done to Pharaoh and to Egypt on Israel's account, all the hardships that had befallen them on the journey, and how God had rescued them. Yitro was jubilant and praised God. It's complicated here to think about the narrative and to not think about our current moment. Ever since October 7th, 2023, the Torah portions have really offered wisdom, guidance, and a frighteningly useful framework for contemplating this moment that we're in. Well, in this Parsha, we hear Yitro's jubilance about God's rescue of the Israelites. And of course, because that includes his son-in-law, and pride in the prophetic work of Moshe. Of course. But describing it as rescue seems to leave behind the destruction of Egypt. The only way for the Israelites to become free was for Egypt to be decimated, not just brought to its knees, not just Pharaoh's heart turned, but the entire land, the cattle, the fields, the Nile, the sky, their skin. All of the plagues, one at a time, were there to destroy Egypt. Because in the biblical archetypal battle, the only way to be free is to defeat, utterly defeat the enemy. And it is very difficult to not see a parallel here. But where Yitro was jubilant at the rescue, in our moment of fighting for our own freedom and lives, to be free from terror, to stop the terrorists, we don't have a sea that will split. No. And I'm not sure about your theology, but I'll tell you that in mine, I do not expect divine intervention. It's not what the world is. It might not even be what the world was, but in our mythic telling of the Torah, of our own story, God intervenes and frees us. And the destruction that is left behind is an indication that freedom is worth the fight. I don't like how my heart feels around this right now. But I want to pour it out. These last 493 days have taught me a lot. I believe that these last 493 days have changed things. Because those of us who spent so much effort saying that the violence of the Torah's narrative has no place in this world. We're not confronted until October 7th, 2023, and then again this last Shabbat, on day 491, by what evil looks like, what evil does. I am assuming, my friends, that you have also seen the faces of Or, Eli, and Ohad. What it reminded us of, what they have gone through, the cruelty of their captors. We have learned the price of powerlessness, friends. And in the Parsha, in the Torah in general, God is the one who makes for salvation. But there are cues in the Parsha that we have a lot to learn about what hasn't changed. Archetypal evil, I don't know that I would go that far, but it is clear to me, friends, that the Parsha has language that still resonates. These last 493 days, I've pushed hard against this, sometimes more, sometimes less. I know that our homeland is as imperfect a human construct as any. I don't presume that there are the children of light and the children of darkness, but I do know that my children are still held captive. My brothers have been tortured for the crime of being Jewish, for the crime of claiming that Jews have a right to a home, and that when Jews come home, they have the right to be safe and free. The cruelty of their releases says quite a lot too. To see a father be told by his 3-year-old son that his wife has been killed. The 3-year-old has had more time to process than the father. For him to be looking forward to seeing his brother, who he was told on stage at his release was murdered, to be mocked. And for Hamas to take a video and release it of what they have done with pride tells us quite a lot. Yitro was told by Moses all the hardships that had befallen the Israelites. And I will tell you, friends, I will tell you, I have never once, until this moment, considered what did the Israelites look like after 210 years of slavery. I'm imagining that they looked better than Or, Eli, and Ohad. Doesn't that say something? So take a moment with me, friends, before we move forward into our day. Say the names Or, Eli, and Ohad with me. Say their names. Or, Eli, Ohad. I do not ignore the fact that they are free and that the healing can begin. Nor can I ignore the fact that 76 human beings are still being held, some of whom are awaiting proper burial, and some of whom are alive. But you and I, friends, you and I have to learn from a parsha that talks about utter destruction and devastation as a necessary prerequisite to freedom. We have to learn from it. not to celebrate it, not to want this terrible destructive power, but to know that the Torah is telling us something. And as I said before, we've learned the price of powerlessness. There will unfortunately be evil. That's part of human history, no matter when or where we look. And we are not perfect people, but we are not evil people. The release of Palestinian murderers in exchange for Israeli civilians is a contrast that cannot be ignored. The Palestinian criminals, murderers, are well fed. Yahweh Sinwar, Yamach Shemo, may his name be erased from the annals of history. The mastermind of October 7th had brain surgery conducted by an Israeli surgeon to save his life. That's what we do. That's what we do. We're not perfect. We're very human. But we are entering a period of time on the Jewish calendar where we not just learn about the destruction of Egypt, and not just in this week's Parsha, we're going to receive the Torah, which I will try to focus on tomorrow. But we're also leading up to the holiday of Purim, which, as Valerie just said, has archetypal enemies. Evil. I think until October 7th, I didn't use the word evil to describe people. I used it to describe people from the past. I didn't feel the darkness touch my skin the way looking at Or, Eli, and Ohad does. So, there is a tremendous amount happening in the world, and I'll close with a story because I want to talk about everything, but I can't. Elie Wiesel, of blessed memory, was a professor at Boston University. And he was asked by a student in the 80s, Professor Wiesel, there is a march against South African apartheid on Sunday, and there's a march in solidarity with Soviet Jewry, the Jews who weren't allowed to leave the Soviet Union. Also on Sunday. Professor, which one should I go to? And Elie Wiesel looked at his student in the eyes and said, well, both, of course. Of course you must go to both. But I will tell you why you must go to the march in solidarity with Soviet Jewry. Because if you don't go to the march in solidarity with Soviet Jewry, who will? This is a moment where we do not wait for divine intervention, because that's not how this will work. This is a moment where we do not wait for others to do the saving, though we will encourage them to use their voices on our behalfs. This is where we remember the necessity of power. May it not come to utter destruction, friends, but may our people be free, no matter what it takes. Send your hearts to the east, my friend. Sing with us. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulfatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia עוד לא עבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון v'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, my friends.